Hey guys, Strutter here. It's the 16th of September 2013 and I'm out sitting next to the garden. It just rained, but as you can see, I'm starting to get some tomatoes on these plants here at my little mini garden here. And actually, there's this pepper plant which I didn't think was doing anything, and all of a sudden it's just gone crazy in the last couple of weeks. Now that the nice weather's gone, for some reason now it's choosing to grow. So I have a couple little peppers growing on there and more flowers coming, but that's pretty much it for the year for this garden. So it's kind of weird that it was tiny like this for the entire first half of the year, enjoying all the good weather. But anyhow, you can see starting to get a few more tomatoes on here. These are the ones I call organic orange. As you can see, they're getting a bunch of rainwater, probably with tasty Fukushima radiation in it. So hopefully the amount of water these plants get isn't going to be too high, because then you end up with splitting. You've seen that on tomatoes before, where they just the underside will just split in half and all the guts come out, and you can still eat them after that, but they don't look quite right. If it keeps raining too much or if it gets cold, I'm going to pull these inside, just take them inside, and they'll ripen inside, and then they won't have a splitting problem or anything. But anyhow, this video is going to have a little bit of garden stuff at the end over at my grandma's place. I took some footage on the weekend, but most of it is about the silver demand and a little bit about Fukushima and the storm that hit last night. There's the silver price action since, when was this? 8/21, so August the 21st, down here, $22. That was actually when the attack happened in Syria, and that gas was released. During the run-up, it was coming up for a while, from $19 until there, and continued up until here, which is the 27th or 28th of August, and that was during the height of the U.S. aggression and beating the war drums, essentially. And then it was choppy since then, as it's sort of been up and down if the U.S. is going to war or not. And then around here it was sort of released, no, this is when Putin said, we're going to take care of it, you guys are not allowed to attack, and down we came. So it's almost like silver has been tracking the war hype and stuff like that for some reason. So now we are stuck just below $22 here again, and 22 was resistance on the way down, or I guess you could say it was support, but eventually did break, and that's when we had that move to 18 and the slow, messy consolidation until about 19 here, and then the run up. I think this is insiders that knew that the war effort was coming, and were aware that silver would go up. So now we've had that war off move down to 22, and we'll have to see what happens from there. Zooming out to the weekly, yeah, there's that big move down from QE3 to infinity right here. Money printing like mad, down to $18, and we're only $4 off that low now. The US Mint updated their sales figures today for Silver Eagles, and there's been just under 2 million made so far this month, and the month is about half over, so we're looking at maybe 3.5 or so for the full month. It always depends on how they choose to report and if they want to hold over any for October or not. I don't think they will, because the record for September is something like 4.2 million ounces. We're not likely to hit that, so they'll put all the data from September in September most likely, and not carry over much for October, if any. But so that brings up the total to just a shade under 35 million ounces so far this year. And switch over to my graph. There it is, showing all the years back to 2000 and how many Silver Eagles were sold each of those years. Of course, just about 40 million was the grand total for 2011. That's the all-time record. 2012, with the drop in silver prices, brought about a drop in demand, and now we are in 2013. Only 70% of it or so is completed so far, but we're already at that $35 million level, and expecting to end up at around 45 to 47 for the year. How much is 47 million compared to how much the country mines as a whole? Well, on the Silver Institute website. I'm not sure how accurate their data is, but they are considered an official source, or the official source actually, by a lot of people. And they say that they mine 32.6 million ounces. Keep in mind that silver eagles are only a portion of total silver investment demand, and silver investment demand is only a portion of the total demand for silver. So this 32.6 million ounces is clearly not enough to even service the need for silver eagles in the country, let alone all of silver bullion, let alone all of silver that's needed for industry and jewelry and medicine and all those other uses that come after the investment demand. So even though the US is the 9th most prolific silver producer in the world, they are nowhere near coming close to meeting their own needs for bullion whatsoever. So they're going to have to be importing some silver, I guess, from Mexico, China, maybe Australia, other countries. Interesting. And for those of us following the biggest news story in the world over the past 2.5 years, that being Fukushima and the nuclear disaster that's ongoing there, that's affecting everybody on the planet, and it's just not being talked about in the mainstream media. I have a couple of links. This one is typhoon hits Japan as Fukushima operator releases water into the sea. So a large amount of water landed in this area. Unprecedented rainfall, they're calling it. The eye of the storm hit exactly on Fukushima Prefecture. This was a major hurricane, and close to 1 million people, I think, or 1.5 million were evacuated. Something like 500,000 homes were evacuated in the area. Record-breaking winds of 170 kilometers an hour. Rainfall, like I mentioned, ocean swells. 30-foot waves pounded the shoreline, which is where that crippled nuclear plant is. Well, they call it crippled, but it's destroyed. It's just a nuclear waste site now, with 4 blobs of corium, which is molten radioactive material, and they are now burrowing their way to the center of the Earth because they've escaped from the containment vessels. So we have essentially 3 or 4 active Chernobyl events ongoing on the coastline of Japan, and no way to deal with any of it. Of course, the TEPCO, that's the company that was in charge of it and has been in charge of cleanup, which doesn't make any sense. They're not a cleanup company, they're a nuclear power plant company, now in charge of cleanup of a nuclear disaster, have been lying to the public all along, saying that nothing's going on, and I'm sure that they'll say that nothing's going on here as well, even though they had to release an unknown amount of radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean because of this. Really, information is very sketchy. I don't have much information. The mainstream media won't talk about it. So if you have a good source for information about this, please pass it on to me. As I was saying, TEPCO has been caught lying all along. They said it wasn't a full nuclear meltdown. It was. They said that there was no leaking into the ocean. Of course there is, 400 tons a day or something like that. They have now admitted that all their lies, well, they've admitted several lies were lies. How many more lies they have not admitted yet because they haven't been caught in it is yet to be seen. But anyhow, they've always been understating the danger at Fukushima, of course, greatly understating it. But now the Japanese Prime Minister has come out and made a statement. Usually he's not the one that does it, it's usually TEPCO that makes statements about Fukushima, but he has now come out and made a statement. He admits that TEPCO was lying all along. He says that they have been lying about how dangerous Fukushima is. Really, it's not dangerous at all. It's completely under control, and TEPCO has just been alarmist. So he doesn't want people to listen to TEPCO anymore. Everything's fine. Have a listen.
Let me assure you, the situation is under control.
Exactly. So now apparently the station is under control. There's absolutely nothing wrong. You heard him yourself, the Japanese Prime Minister telling the world, don't worry, everything is under control. Everything's under control, guys. Don't worry about it. Talk to you soon. It appears to be fungus season. There's all kinds of different ones here at Grandma's house. Here's a little toadstool. I have a lot of interest in mushrooms and fungus, not a lot of knowledge in it. Does anyone know what that is? No, I'm not going to eat it. I'm just interested if anyone knows anything about it. And I'll show you a few other ones too that I've found around the place. I think mushrooms are pretty cool because they are not plants and they are not animals, but they have characteristics of both plants and animals. And a lot of them are pretty tasty or useful medicinally. Here's an interesting one. Another of the same species. Look at them all here in my moss patch. Usually there's just moss here, but these have popped up wildly. This one's rather large and ugly. I have no idea. Well, I do know this one, as do a lot of tomato gardeners. This is blight, or rot, or early rot, or late rot, or just basically my plants are falling apart and dying. And that's what happens in the fall, usually. So yeah, we've had some alternating warm and wet weather, so that encourages the growth of different funguses and molds and stuff. Tomatoes are susceptible to quite a few of those, so it basically means that the year of growing is over, and I kind of have to finish these up now. I probably will get these off. They're too close to this stuff, because it will catch on to the tomatoes themselves. This bunch looks okay right now, but it's not poisonous or anything. It just ruins your fruit. So I will be finishing up this garden pretty quick in the next week here for sure. And these tomato plants have done well. This is the second crop of the year, and I'll give them another couple of weeks, and probably October 1st pull them out of the ground.
The situation is under control.